Welcome to Stories and Songs by Afterglow Music. My name is Joel McCausland.
And I'm Kevin Peay, and we've been creating music for a long time.
We'd like to tell you the stories behind our songs.
Joel, let's talk about a song you wrote that we put on Walk With Me, an album we did, I think, 5-6 years ago.
5-6 years ago, yeah, not that long ago.
I thought that when I heard the call, that I'd be giving something back to him. A tithing on my life, the hope I might repay him, a chance to show my gratitude for everything he's done. When I gave, he gave more. When I served, he returned the blessings to me 1,000-fold. When I taught, I learned more. When I loved, he opened up my eyes to let me see the way that my Savior loves me.
I actually wrote this song when Diana's nephew returned from his mission, and that was probably a year before we recorded it. And I started out thinking about missionary service. That was kind of the thing, right? And I wanted to have a little way to describe how you can feel coming home and hopefully feel like you've given your best, you've done some service, you've tried to repay the Lord in some measure, right, to that point in your life. And that's one of the aspects, but I think there's a bunch of things we could talk about, as you said, that relate just to serving in the kingdom in whatever way we end up.
We were serving in the hospital this last week, and we have a new high counselor that's been assigned to the branch. He's 85 years old. He lost his wife a few years ago. He's been so humble about everything, and when he stands up and he speaks or shares testimony, it's always just this profound teaching moment. And so this last Sunday, I asked him, so tell us a little bit more about your life and your service. And in his humble way, he said, once a missionary, always a missionary. And if you want to ask a missionary to share his missionary experiences, there'll be no shortages.
Wow.
And so I thought to myself, well, okay, so tell us more. And he said, well, I was called with my 5 children to preside over the Atlanta mission many years ago. But he inferred in his testimony this last Sunday that he actually presided over the MTC.
Wow.
And I'm like, whoa, let's hear more about that. So we talked about the time frame of all of that. And it was a beautiful experience as he recounted his wonderful blessings of, I think he said, presiding over some 67,000 missionaries coming through the MTC. All told.
Oh, my heavens.
In that 2.5 years that he was there.
That's crazy.
And so he talked about the schedule of general authorities coming and the schedule of the firesides that they gave as mission presidency. And you're looking at him going in his humble way, wow, there's a lot of church service here. And I kept thinking of Doctrine and Covenants, Section 4, thrusting in your sickle with your might, and the Lord calls you to the work if you have the desire to serve. Just all the different varieties of service that can come if you have a desire to serve. And in many instances, not waiting for a call. Oftentimes you're seeking Jesus and wanting to serve. And so there's a lot of service opportunities. If I'd listened to this song again, of course I hearken back to texts that are going on right now with the Nauvoo missionaries, even today, back and forth, when we served in 1982 in the Nauvoo Restoration Mission. And when we finally got our reunion together, now they just won't let this text stream go. And
you've reconnected, and it's
reconnected, but they're reconnecting in such a way that they want to go back. And you and I had a wonderful privilege of going back 3 years ago, I think.
3 or 4, yeah. Mm-hmm.
To a mega conference that they had in Nauvoo. And that was very special to me, but it's been fun. They've been posting pictures again. They've been talking about those that were there when Ruth and Nathan Hale were there, just before I got there. And of course, we know what the Hales have done in the theater world. And they're sharing their missionary experiences in song and dance, which was a little bit out of the box.
Right.
when you were called to the Nauvoo Restoration Mission, because you were not only giving tours in the visitor center, but you were also singing and dancing as performing missionaries do today in Nauvoo.
I would never look back and say, oh, I was an awesome missionary. I feel like I worked hard and tried my best, but there's so many things in retrospect now I look back on and think I could have done better, certainly could have been better prepared, and could have done things differently in some ways. But I still feel like that a mission, if you just kind of get through the hard things and do the very best you can, still ends up being transformative in ways that you'd never expect it to be. And some of that is the connections you make. One of our service projects this week is with President H.D. Call, who I know you know. And,
Very well.
And such a good man. And Diana met him the other day, and he was talking about a talk he gave recently in his state conference. And you just have these connections, with people, and you see them later on and see who and what they've become. I had a companion that was my favorite companion, honestly. Every time I see him, I just get a little joy in my heart because I know who he is. I know who he was in the mission and what he taught me and the experiences we shared. And that kind of thing really doesn't go away. I've forgotten tons about my mission in Japan. I know I have. Probably forgotten lots of people. But there are certain things that I don't think I ever will forget because they really did transform me in some ways. We were talking to my sister and brother-in-law the other day and reflecting on the time when we were out and the church made what turned out to be a temporary decision to allow young elders to serve for 18 months. And after we were already in the mission field, there was a group of people that were called to 18-month missions. And then at some point in the process, they took another look and said, maybe it's better that they serve 2 years. But one of the choices we had to make, I think everybody in our era, and at least in that specific time frame, we had a choice to make. Would we go home at 18 months? They gave us that option. Or would we stay to 2 years or some portion of that? That caused me then and even now to kind of reflect a little bit too, because I had that choice, could have come home a little earlier than I did. And I'm so grateful looking back because some of my best experiences, and maybe had to do with me being better prepared and a better missionary and maybe more into the work, but I would have missed some things. And for everybody, and they made a big point of it at the time, there's no right or wrong answer here. Seek your own answer, do what is best for you. But I am grateful, and I continue to be grateful, that I had a choice and a chance then to serve right till the end of the 24 months.
When I was talking to this high counselor at the branch, all of a sudden I was under the assumption that he had served a mission in his youth. And I said to him, did you have a chance? And he said, no. He said, when we were called, or when people were called at that point in time, the Vietnam War was on. And so a ward or a stake, I'm not sure, but they could only send 2 out.
At a given time.
At a given time.
Wow, that's interesting.
But there are circumstances in our lives where the traditional way of serving a mission that we've, in many instances, have grown up with, that's not the way it's done all the time in continuous revelation. There is so many opportunities to serve, whether you pounded doors 2 by 2, or you were shipped off to some foreign land or some domestic land that seemed foreign when you got there. There are multitude of opportunities.
And even more today, to your point.
Coming up the middle of this month, they're opening up the website for people to come and serve with the temple open house.
Oh, really?
And,
yeah, I hadn't heard that. That's cool.
There's going to be a beautiful experience for those that would like to come and spend some time in the 6 months of the Salt Lake Temple rededication and the celebration that's about to happen there. So there's just all kinds of ways to get involved in the kingdom and not sit on cruise control unless you're really comfortable there, which, makes sense.
Okay,
I get it. Yeah, I get it. There is great joy in meeting other people and shining your light.
It's been a cool thing to see. I think this has been pretty common, but our stake several years ago now had a special fireside for those of us who were in our 50s and beyond. And our stake president stood up and said, we hope and expect that all of you will consider a mission at home and outside of the boundaries of our stake here somewhere. And I think that was kind of an interesting wake-up call for a lot of people. Not that many of them wouldn't have served anyway. And I've looked back on what we've had the opportunity to do in the last few years and the blessings that have come to our lives and the good things we've been able to do and the people we've met. It's been awesome. But I do feel like not only is there more opportunity than ever before, but I also think it's kind of a sign of where the work is going. There is a huge need. It's amazing. In our mission today and our previous mission experiences, they're always talking about, we need more people. We need more couples. We need more young people for sure. But I think it's an opportunity for us really as we get a little older, Like you said, we can put it on cruise control, enjoy the grandkids. We can go on a mission somewhere. Sometimes we can do both. And we've been blessed to feel like we could do both right now, where we're still at home and taking care of moms and doing things that we need to do with that, as well as being able to serve.
And when I served also means right across the street, pulling out a neighbor's garbage can.
Right.
Finding some way to serve with inside the quorums, the relief societies, with inside your wards, and with inside areas that really make a difference one-on-one. So when I served is about whenever time.
Yeah, and the other part of this that kind of came to me as I was writing this song, as I mentioned, it was for a mission homecoming, if you will. I know we don't do them exactly that way anymore, but Diana's nephew was coming home, and he asked me to sing, and I wanted to just do something like that, But the more I got into it, it's exactly what you were saying. It's like, it's this notion, this idea that when we serve, we are elevated even more than we elevate others. When we teach, we learn more than anybody else in the room learns typically. And when we serve and try to reach out to other people in whatever way we can do it, the first and best blessings are probably for us. We're probably getting more out of it most of the time. And sometimes we maybe feel like we can actually really do something good for somebody else. And that's always ought to be our motivation. But I think the blessings that God gives us when we try to reach outside of ourselves and be a servant to others, that's kind of the payoff. It's kind of the thing that he's saying to us, look, you're doing my work, and you'll get blessings for that too.
Well, maybe as people listen to this song, they can think about the joy that comes from that service and the blessings that come as well.
I thought that when I heard the call, that I'd be giving something back to him. A tithing on my life, the hope I might repay him, a chance to show my gratitude for everything he's done. I worked and learned and did my best, and tried each day to follow in his way. And when I listened to the promptings of the Spirit, my steps were guided to the ones where I could teach and share. When I gave, he gave more. When I served, he returned the blessings to me 1,000-fold. When I taught, I learned more. When I loved, he opened up my eyes to let me see the way that my Savior loves me. And now the time has come for me to go back to my life and find my way. But I'll keep in my heart the memories of this calling, and find a way to share and serve each and every day. When I gave, he gave more. When I served, he returned the blessings to me 1,000-fold. When I taught, I learned more. When I loved, he opened up my eyes to let me see the way that my Savior loves me. When I give, he gives more. When I serve, he returns the blessings to me 1,000-fold. When I teach, each I learn more. When I love, He opens up my eyes to let me see the way that my Savior loves me.